The Whispering House. In the middle of Blackwood Forest, hidden by mist and tall trees, stood an old mansion. Locals called it Blackthorn Estate. No one went near it, especially after sunset. They said strange things about the house. Strange lights flickered through its windows at night, and soft whispers could be heard on the wind. But the strangest part was how the house never seemed to age. Though it had been abandoned for decades, the windows were clear, the walls freshly painted, and the gardens, though wild, were never overgrown. Amelia Greystone had always been curious about the house. Since she was a child, she had heard stories of the Blackthorn Estate, but none of them scared her. She didn't believe in curses or haunted houses. Now an adult, Amelia had become a historian, fascinated with uncovering secrets from the past. The more people told her to stay away from the house, the more she wanted to explore it. Something about its mystery pulled her in. One cold autumn morning, Amelia decided it was time. She packed a small bag with a flashlight, her notebook, and a camera. She wasn't sure what she would find, but she knew she had to find out for herself. As she entered the forest, the mist clung to the trees, and the path to the house seemed longer than she remembered. The air was heavy, and each step felt harder, as if something didn't want her to get closer. But Amelia pressed on. When the mansion finally came into view, it looked exactly as people described. It was huge and grand, with tall windows and sharp gables. The front door was carved with strange symbols, and ivy crept up the stone walls. As she approached, the heavy wooden door creaked open slowly, without a touch. Amelia hesitated for a moment, her heart pounding, but then she stepped inside. The interior was as grand as the outside. A wide staircase curved up to the second floor, and chandeliers hung from the high ceiling. The floor was polished, and the furniture was perfectly arranged, as if waiting for someone to return. It was strange. The house looked lived in but felt completely empty. The air was thick with silence, but something about the house felt alive. Amelia could sense it, though she didn't know why. She wandered through the rooms, taking notes and photos. There were old portraits on the walls, their painted eyes following her every move. The faces in the portraits looked stern and serious, but none of them were familiar. The deeper she went into the house, the more uneasy she felt. As Amelia climbed the stairs to the second floor, she noticed a faint glow coming from a room at the end of the hallway. The door was slightly open, and a flickering light spilled into the hall. She walked slowly toward it, her heart beating faster. When she pushed the door open, she found herself in a large library. The shelves were filled with old, dusty books, and a fireplace crackled with a warm fire. But what caught her attention was the large mirror above the fireplace. It was tall and framed in gold, with intricate designs carved into the edges. As Amelia stepped closer, she felt a chill run down her spine. In the reflection, she saw something that didn't belong. A man standing in the far corner of the room. He was tall and dressed in dark clothes, his face hidden in the shadows. She spun around quickly, but the corner was empty. Amelia's heart raced. She turned back to the mirror, and the figure was still there, now closer. The air in the room grew colder, and then she heard it, a soft whisper, so quiet she could barely make out the words. "Leave now or stay forever." Amelia froze. The whisper wasn't threatening, but it sent a wave of fear through her. She wanted to run, but something about the mirror held her in place. "Who are you?" she whispered back, her voice shaky. The room seemed to hum with energy, and the whispering grew louder. It wasn't just one voice now, but many, overlapping and speaking in words she couldn't understand. She felt an invisible force pulling her toward the mirror. Just as her fingers touched the frame, the world around her shifted. Suddenly, the house was different. It was no longer quiet and empty. The chandeliers were lit, and the sounds of laughter and music filled the air. Amelia found herself standing in the same room, but now it was alive with people. Downstairs, she could hear the clinking of glasses and the soft melody of a piano. She had somehow stepped back in time. Confused and scared, Amelia left the library and wandered the halls. The house was now filled with guests in elegant clothes, dancing and laughing as if they didn't notice her. No one spoke to her or even seemed to see her. She felt like a ghost, invisible in this strange, lively world. As she made her way down the staircase, she noticed a man watching her from across the room. His face looked familiar, and he seemed different from the others. Unlike the guests who were carefree, this man looked serious, almost sad. He walked toward her, his eyes locked on hers. "You shouldn't be here," he said quietly when he reached her. Amelia felt a chill at his words. "What do you mean? Where am I?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "You're trapped," the man said. "This house, it keeps people. Time doesn't work the way it should here. The people you see, they've been here for decades, maybe centuries. They can never leave." Amelia's heart sank. "But I don't belong here. How do I get out?" The man glanced at the ceiling, as if he was afraid of being overheard. "The mirror," he said. "It's the only way. But the house won't let you go easily. You have to hurry." Without another word, he turned and disappeared into the crowd. Amelia's mind raced. She had to get back to the library, back to the mirror. She pushed through the dancing guests, their laughter ringing in her ears as if mocking her. The whispers in the air were louder now, swirling around her, urging her to stay. When she finally reached the library, the fire had gone out, and the room was cold and dark. The mirror still hung above the fireplace, but its surface seemed to shimmer as though it was alive. The man from before appeared again in the reflection, but this time he looked older, his face tired and worn. "Now," he said urgently, "touch the mirror. It's your only chance." Amelia didn't hesitate. She reached for the mirror, and as her fingers brushed the surface, a blinding light filled the room. She felt herself being pulled backward, falling through time and space. When the light faded, she was back in the quiet, empty library. The house was silent once more, and the mirror lay shattered at her feet. Amelia stood up, her body trembling, and rushed out of the room. As she ran down the stairs and out the front door, she could feel the house behind her, watching, waiting. The door slammed shut behind her with a loud bang. She didn't stop running until she was deep into the forest, far from the house. Even though she had escaped, the whispers still echoed in her mind, soft and haunting. Amelia never went back to Blackthorn Estate, but sometimes, late at night, when the wind was just right, she could still hear the whispers calling her name, tempting her to return.